Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Movie Mates video on the channel that might end up being a podcast. We've got to be honest. I am Matthew, of
I hope
course. Joined,
not.
yeah, I don't know. I think the last trailer reaction was. Anyway, I'm Matthew, joined by my wonderful co-host and best friend.
Callum.
Hi, mate. So as we said, the last Spider-Man trailer reaction we did, I think it ended up being like a 50 minute long podcast. I'm not sure if this one will be the same. I'd imagine it will be quite lengthy. Because as you've seen by the title, the second trailer was released today. A lot of hype behind this. It's not often that you'd get, a trailer or a post about a trailer, but we kind of got it here with the hype. There was like an announcement yesterday about this trailer, and then loads of the fans got excited, and yeah, it came out in the UK, I think 1:30 a.m. around that time today on the 17th. So yeah, we're back to break it down. So I'll pass over to Cam to explain basically what we're going to be talking about and what's been going on in the trailer. So yeah, off to you, bro.
Yeah, due to my tragic sleep schedule, I was unfortunately awake to watch this when it came out. Uh, 3 minutes long, at least the one I watched. But I think it's sort of a little bit shorter on every other place because I think the one I watched sort of had the like 20-second prelude that's like the best parts of the trailer chopped up, which I think is
Yeah.
just a waste of time really, and kind of kills the suspense of the trailer. So this is a very different one to the last one we had. It's very villain focused. I'm very excited to talk about this because we sort of get a spotlight on the big villains that we all really enjoy, especially the two of us. I think the first thing I need to address is Doctor Strange and his behavior in this trailer. We thought he was acting a little fishy in the first trailer. His whole plan sort of seems insane, especially even casting the spell that the Wong warned him not to. But here we see more of the aftermath of the spell rather than the casting of it itself that we saw in the first trailer. And this can't be our Doctor Strange. I mean, he's arrogant. You know, he's an absolute dickhead, really. But he's not an idiot. Do you think he would take responsibility and be like, because the first line of dialogue in the trailer is, whenever you botch that spell in reference to Peter's behavior. I mean, surely he'd take responsibility.
Yeah, you'd think so. It would kind of disregard all the evolution he's went through in the previous movies, including the solo film. It's interesting to see how big a role he's playing here because the poster released a few days ago, I think. A couple of posters did actually in the last few weeks, and it looks like he is,
Horrendous posters, yeah.
yeah, they're not great. The second one has him in it, pretty much front and center stage. So it seems like it is. Spider-Man always has these characters to bounce off of in the MCU, with be it Iron Man or Nick Fury or something like that. Here it seems like it's Doctor Strange, which I don't know. I do think it would be very confusing and muddled if they had Doctor Strange also have a villainous streak in this film, given that you've got six other villains. Plus spoilers if you haven't seen Venom 2, but Venom in there as well. It's quite a crowded movie with that, and there's things I have to mention in this trailer that allude to other villains as well. So there's loads of other things going on here. So I hope they don't have Doctor Strange have this villainous turn or have someone controlling him. But it wouldn't surprise me if they do it because, like I said, his second solo movie is just around the corner too, isn't it? So, I think it's very possible, man.
Yeah, I mean, if this is meant to, neatly tie into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, if this is the kind of character that we're getting a whole movie about,
Oh God.
I don't know that I'm
Yeah,
interested. Like
yeah.
he's a knobhead. Like, if he is behaving exactly like this and he's fighting Scarlet Witch or whatever happens in that film and he's going, this is Peter Parker's fault, I'm just gonna be thinking you're just a dickhead. He's had a lot of lines of dialogue, or at least, a few that I point to regularly where I've been like, oh, why didn't they just make Benedict Cumberbatch? Why didn't they just let him use his English accent? Why are they writing his dialogue in a way that is so incredibly forced and awkward? And the line I always point to was, "I protect your reality, douchebag," and it's so poorly written and so poorly delivered. But here,
The
I think
Scooby
he
Doo line
tries to
is
top
is
that.
awful. Yeah,
Scooby Doo this crap,
that's
and I
awful.
just really think that scene absolutely kills the pace of the trailer. Like I think it's going from beat to beat really really well. It's slowly ramping up, and then it's just absolutely killed by that
Yeah, I agree
10 15
actually.
second exchange, and it's not funny, and his delivery of it is poor. The line is terrible. it's one that, might land in the film in the context of, the finished edited film, but in a trailer it was horrific, and I think that's going to be one that's memed by us at least for a long time.
Certainly. We've mentioned heroic characters potentially taking a villainous turn. In this trailer, we kind of have the opposite. With it seems to me that maybe Dr. Otto Octavius is maybe helping Peter and the gang, I suppose. If we're going to lean into the Scooby-Doo analogies there, there's a fantastic moment in this trailer where Doc Ock recognizes that Tom Holland's Peter Parker isn't his own, and I think a reference just to Tobey Maguire alone, even if he's not in the film, is just, it's enough to make my heart melt, because that's definitely one of my favorite lines in any Marvel trailer, really. I thought it was really smart, and I've seen a lot of comments saying, oh, this doubles the chances of Maguire being in it now. This 100% confirms it, and I'm not too sure about that. There's certain leaked photos and stuff which we'll get into later, which line up with certain scenes shown in the trailer. But just wanted to say, like, do you think this does confirm that? But also, the trailer seems to suggest that maybe Otto Octavius is helping them. Like, do you think that's a potential route that could go down there? Because after all, the end of Spider-Man 2, he's not exactly a villainous character anymore. You know what I mean? He does have that redemption arc there. What's your thoughts just generally in the character?
Yeah, I'd also seen those comments, and I did write specifically in my notes, in what way does Ock saying that you're not Peter Parker prove that the Spider-Men are in the film? It proves that Tom Holland isn't his Spider-Man, something that we knew absolutely 100% without any doubt already. It's just a line to confirm that he's, a Doc Ock from another universe. That's all that line does, and that's something that we already knew.
Yeah,
so people
exactly.
pretending that that means that sure, Tobey Maguire could be in the film, and we'll talk about what'll happen if he isn't. But that, in my opinion, in no way confirms that whatsoever. It simply confirms the facts that we already knew. Him helping them, yeah, I think it'll probably be a begrudging situation, but we also see the fact that Doctor Strange is clearly up to something malevolent. He's sort of accepted that these characters are to die, so he's seemingly entrapped them somewhere in the sanctum, and then Tom Holland, his Spider-Man, clearly has the intention to free them, to try and free them from the fate of their death that Doctor Strange has predicted. So I think it'll probably be on him helping on the basis, I help you, you stop me from dying. But then the film has to have a happy ending, so I guess Spider-Man is probably going to stop these characters from the fate of their death. But then if this is Doc Ock from the Sam Raimi universe, does that mean that he's retroactively saved from death from Spider-Man 2? Because I don't like that either, because then when you watch Spider-Man 2, you'll go, what's even the point of this?
I think that line of all these villains are meant to die, it's their fate, is quite unusual given that two of them aren't. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not too sure whether it's going to lean through the into the Spider-Verse scenario where like they spend too long in a different dimension that their cells actually die. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's a really easy way of doing it, to be honest, to save all the confusion. But yeah, one thing on the Doc Ock, it seems like he's kind of absorbing the nanobots from the Iron Spider suit throughout the trailer. That we see like a different look to the tentacles. I don't really like that. I kind of like the original OG tentacles personally. That's just a little nitpick there, but I've sort of broken it down to on a character by character basis here of what was shown in the trailer. I don't know if you've done the same.
I have not done the same.
No. Well, one character I did want to mention was Electro. Now, originally in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, obviously we kind of had a different sort of look to him. He had more blue and more sort of modernization, but here it's kind of a mix of the comic accurate one, but also like modernization. Like you kind of see when he ever shoots his electricity, you kind of get that sort of, it looks like the mask from the original comics, which I thought was really, really cool. I'm interested to see if like all these members of the Sinister Six are actually villains, because I think a lot of them, if they find out that they're going to die, they'd probably like begrudgingly help Spider-Man, not attack him. I think
who are they fighting? Like, I don't understand. If they do all team up against to fight fate, is it Doctor Strange they're fighting? Like I have no understanding of like who the antagonist to beat is in that situation.
And I think my main question really boils down to the fact that when exactly are the characters being taken from in their timelines? Because it's not as if all of them are being taken from the end point of the films, you know, because Rhys Ifans isn't the Lizard by the end of that film. Green Goblin's dead. You know, Doc Ock is dead. So clearly they've been taken from different points. And I think they could very easily explain that these characters aren't from those films. They just look like the actors who played them in those films, because like, how are they going to explain Electro and the Lizard and Sandman, for example? You know, it's going to be a difficult explanation, I think.
Yeah, I think for the sake of neatness, it probably will be the characters that we've seen before, unless they want to say that, you know, because Doctor Strange has that line like, you know, oh, there are people, we have visitors from every universe, and I'm like, well, from what we can tell, they're from 2 universes, so maybe it's, you know, each one is from a different one, maybe. And you know, if they all, as you say, you know, it says they all die fighting Spider-Man. So does that mean that Sandman and Lizard, you know, are they the ones that we've seen before, or is it that, you know, in the elapsed time since those films happened, you know, obviously we haven't seen what happened in the Raimiverse between, you know, what was it, 2007 and then 2024, which this film's now set in, and then with the Amazing Spider-Man, you know, between the Amazing Spider-Man and 2023. You know, that's 11 years. So, I mean, or, you know, 11 or 12 years. So, I mean, I suppose in that time, the Lizard could have fought Spider-Man again, died. You know, Sandman could have fought Spider-Man again, died.
Yeah,
and I suppose that's maybe where they're coming from. I mean, obviously, we're going to get the answers on the day when we see it. Willem Dafoe doesn't appear to have been de-aged, though. So, I don't know how he could be the one that we've seen from the Raimiverse. You know, everything that we say is just going to be wild speculation, but you know, there's been no comment on him having been de-aged, so I don't really know how they could play that as, you know, him being the one from the Raimiverse, unless they want to, you know, massively retcon the universe and probably ruin anybody's enjoyment of rewatching Spider-Man.
On that point of de-aging, a big topic and focal point of our first trailer breakdown was Doc Ock's de-aging. Now, I think in this trailer, it's pretty good. It's a bit better. I think
way better.
It looks way better than that first 100%. I'm not sure whether that's because on a scene by scene basis, it's more difficult to change or alter, or maybe they've just had more time to fix it. I'm not too sure. I think you know, I think he looks pretty much like a younger Alfred Molina. I mean, obviously there's different changes. The hair is different, obviously, and you know, obviously he's what, 20 years on from that film. So obviously there's going to be changes, but I'd be interested to see if Willem Dafoe is or isn't de-aged. Now, he's kind of the one member of the Sinister Six that I've mentioned here. He is probably the most villainous out of all of them here. Like throughout it, you kind of get the sense that all the other villains are begrudgingly fighting, or you get that kind of vibe. But it seems like, you know, it is the Green Goblin that's like assembling them all together. And I've seen a few points of speculation. There's a shot in the trailer where like a different Green Goblin, it seems, is in there, or maybe it's like Willem Dafoe's Goblin without the mask on. I'm not too sure. Do you have anything to say with that, or do you know what's going on there?
I had heard that it was a new look, you know, that he comes, he takes the mask off, and then he has goggles.
So yeah, I've heard this as well. But then I've heard this as well.
He appears to be throwing some very different weapons. You know, he's not throwing pumpkin bombs. They almost look like sort of like flat discs.
It looked a bit like Harry Osborn,
discs, Green Goblin, like rectangles or something. Like yeah, it looked very odd. You know, I've watched the trailer 4 or 5 times at this point, but I'll probably go back to it. If you know, we're accepting that, you know, both of those looks are Willem Dafoe. Green Goblin's costume in the original Spider-Man from 2002 was, you know, pretty much reviled. You know, people to this day, you know, say he looks like a Power Rangers villain. He looks awful. You know, was that really the best they could do? I love it. How do you feel about his 2002 look?
I like it more now, just because time has passed and the nostalgia for it's there. There is subtle alterations to this one. Like the mask's a bit bigger. It's a bit different. The eyes are certainly stand out a bit more, and overall
reflective.
And overall, I think it looks really good in the trailer. Don't get me wrong. And just seeing that alone, like I can't describe how it made me feel, because the Raimi trilogy is like our childhood, I think, Callum. You know, we love those films so much. So to see like characters like Green Goblin and Doc Ock back again and Sandman is exceptional. Now, I think I'll be interested to see how they explain the different character designs and things like that. You know, like we're saying, clearly they've been taken from different points in their timeline with Lizard and stuff like that. And this is kind of the first confirmation of Lizard, I think. Other than that, like Empire magazine, we kind of get a good look at him and Sandman here. I've seen a few talking points about how the two other Spider-Men are edited out of this, which I think is very possible. You know, looking at that, it looks like they're all attacking at three different individuals. So I'd be very interested to see what's gone on there. I can't help but be a little bit disappointed though that I think that is going to be the final battle. It certainly lines up with leaked photos that we've both seen, and I just can't help but think it could have been so much more visually impressive. It looks like another Dark Knight where you can't tell what the fuck's going on. I think with a Spider-Verse, when you compare it to the end of the Spider-Verse, now I acknowledge it's an animated film. Of course, it's going to be more vibrant, but I think there's so much realms of possibility you have with Doctor Strange and how colorful that character is with all the multiversal stuff. That to have the battle just at a dark, gloomy night in New York is like, it's just a bit underwhelming, Callum. Apart from the fact that it's at the Statue of Liberty, which I quite like. Obviously being the battle of the first sort of big Marvel film of X-Men. What's your thoughts on that in general? I think that's going to be the final act.
So we've had teases of, you know, three big action sequences. You know, there's the bridge scene, there's Spider-Man versus Doctor Strange, and there's this new scene which we can presume is the finale. The one I care least about is the Spider-Man versus Doctor Strange, and it's the only one set during the day, and it's the only the bridge one is also set during the day, but it's the only one that doesn't, you know, appear like, you know, this dusty, smoky mess, you know, where it's gray surfaces and, you know, dust flying everywhere, you know, while everyone is in their least colorful version of their costumes. So the Doctor Strange one is probably going to be the most visually interesting and the one I give the least shit about. And I just think, just set it during the day. Like, Spider-Man is not meant to be this dark, gloomy character. Yeah, you know, every single film, you know, embraces these nighttime battles. You know, it's the same with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 sort of got away with it because, you know, because Electro was this like luminescent character.
Sure.
But, you know, the one in the Amazing Spider-Man 1 felt weird. Everybody compared it to, like, you know, it's them trying to do the Dark Knight with Spider-Man, and it didn't work.
Homecoming as well. Homecoming.
Yeah. And then Spider-Man 3, I mean, the finale, that looks like shit. Spider-Man 2 looks good, but it's not even really a fight. It's kind of just this powerful exchange of words, so it's kind of a different thing. And then the first one, I do think it's visceral and it's exciting, but I mean, it couldn't be more, you know, just in the dark with dust flying up, because it's just, they're like dropping brick walls on each other and stuff. Like, it's not, it was something new and different, and at the time that was great. But now, you know, when they're trying to pitch this as like an event film, if you can't see the characters that you're like paying to see on this big IMAX screen, and, you know, all you can see is dust and smoke and darkness, I feel like it's going to be a massive letdown if that is, you know, what we've amped up to.
100%. No, there's a pretty major line in this trailer, I think, when Doctor Strange says like there's more coming through. I'm not sure what exactly that refers to. I'd maybe thought that it could have been more villains or maybe more characters in these films. You know, I think the spectrum for characters that you can bring in is quite big. Like, I think there's loads of things you could do here. I'm not sure, maybe that's just a throwaway line for the trailer. It's very possible. Marvel edits trailers so much. Like, look at the Infinity War trailer for an example. Really, I mean, so much is different there. But what's your thoughts there? Do you think it's a throwaway line, meaningless, or do you think there's something to it?
See, I was sort of on the fence whether they were going to show Toby and Andrew. You know, there were rumors that, you know, they were all in the same city, you know, where the event was taking place. I thought they were probably going to, you know, bring them out on stage, show, you know, after they showed the trailer, and I thought it was going to be this huge deal. And then that scene is just, you know, this kind of dialogue, and I don't think they would have it if it was completely meaningless, because it's, you know, one, not that exciting. Well, I mean, you know, it's you listen to that and it's like, yeah, that's, you know, one of these moments in the films where they, you know, tease something up. But I mean, you know, they teed something up to not show it. So I feel like if that was just for the trailer, why even do it? So I think it must be in the film, and it must be something important. Whether it's Toby and Andrew remains to be seen. If Toby and Andrew aren't in the film, the fandom is going to kick off, and they're going to say, Sony, how have you done this to us? Marvel, fuck you, I hate you, I'm boycotting all the films from now on. And that is insane behavior. You know, if you think every single actor that has been asked about this film saying that, you know, they aren't in it, like whose word are you taking for this? You know, I think they probably will be in it, but I have absolutely like no I'll have absolutely no hard feelings towards Marvel or Sony because they have never once, you know, given a shred of reliability to any of the claims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely will happen if they're not in it, but it's a shame because I'm not like I don't think any of us are gonna be completely raging or boycott the films from then on because we just accept that that's the nature of the business. You know, I think the villains and other the speculation is there, the leaked photos, that's completely up to the fandom to take those photos as legit. Like that's not Marvel endorsing those leaked photos by any means. So I definitely think that if they're in it, it's a bonus. If they're not, yeah, we're still getting the villains. I'm absolutely delighted at that. Plus,
Yeah.
it looks like we're getting Venom. Now, I'm not sure if Venom's going to be in this movie. I think it would make sense if Let There Be Carnage just slowly introduce him to the universe. And because the more I see this trailer, I kind of think, oh, maybe there is too much characters. I think to have a major actor like Tom Hardy, you have to give him a decent amount of screen time. So I'm less like I think there's less chance of him being in a major sense. I think that is just going to be a soft introduction to the universe personally. But that being said, like chronologically, it kind of seems like the film opens with Peter and MJ sort of getting accustomed to this life, and obviously Peter trying to resolve this identity thing, going to Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange opens a portal or whatever, or does the spell. Villains come in. Peter and Doctor Strange encounter the villains. Peter wants to save them, and then it seems like it pretty much goes from there, really, action-wise. I'm not sure whether that little cube thing is like a little prison or something, a miniaturized prison for them. I've seen a few people speculating that. I'm not too sure what that is. It kind of seems like the MacGuffin of the film for the time being. But I think the most interesting thing is that like there's bound to be a death in here. This trailer really leans into the MJ stuff. It gives you vibes of Gwen Stacy and MJ in the first, in the Warwick Webb and Raimi films alike. Do you think there is going to be consequences here? Because like Marvel movies have to have a happy ending, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, there was a comment made by Grace Randolph in one of her videos.
Oh
that
God,
seemed to suggest about the fate of one character, and I will not make any comments on that. But if that comes to pass, like I will be so angry at Grace Randolph. Like I will be leaving absolute abuse in her comments section if she has ruined that for me. I will be actually like completely furious.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
I just hope that's not the case for the sake of my enjoyment of the film.
For sure. On that note, mate, I wouldn't have much else to say on the trailer.
I just have a couple of questions for you. So we've seen 5 of the Sinister Six. We have, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, Sandman, Lizard. One comment I have written down here is, how does Sandman look worse 14 years later? He looks pretty bad in the finale of Spider-Man 3, and he looks only as good, if not worse, in the final moments of this trailer.
Yeah, they've changed the whole design of the face, I thought, as well. And the sand looks different now. I think Sandman looks his best in that initial scene where he's introduced in the Raimi film. But I agree. I wouldn't be a big fan of the big hulking Sandman at the end of that. I've seen a lot of people say that there is going to be like an internal fight within the Sinister Six. I say Sinister Six. I'm not sure who the sixth member is going to be at this stage. Any ideas?
That was what my question was going to be for you. We've now got physical shots of all the 5 Sinister Six members that we have seen. So they're clearly holding number 6 back from us, because they wouldn't they wouldn't assemble 5 villains, whenever they could build to the Sinister Six, because clearly, the only reason they're bringing Electro back is to fill numbers, so if they were really just wanting to like just have a number of villains, you would just have, I guess 3 or so. So I mean, they have 6 there to make it the Sinister Six, and I feel like the only one worth hiding is Mysterio.
I think there's 3 options. I think Mysterio is definitely up there. Also, I have a thing to ask you about Jake Gyllenhaal. I've seen a lot of memes online about Jake Gyllenhaal recently. And what's that about?
It's because Taylor Swift released a new album, and I think
Did he keep her
at least
scarf or something? What was that? What was the
I
crap?
haven't listened to it, but I think at least some of it is about the fact that they used to date, which I wasn't even aware of. Apparently, she was 19 and he was 30, I believe, was the age difference. And there's I don't know anything about it. Like it's really not my genre of
Yeah,
music.
it's just I was just
Uh,
curious.
and I done some looking into it, but I haven't really grasped it. But apparently, they had some issues in their relationship, and apparently there was a lot of upset caused by him like not attending her 21st birthday or something along those lines.
Oh, that's a shame. I really like Gyllenhaal. So basically, what we're saying is, I think there's three options. Mysterio is definitely a huge one. I'd love to see that. I think that'd be really cool. I think other ones is maybe Venom, but that's probably less likely. And the third, I
Yeah, and
was
I
maybe
think at this point you wouldn't hide that, and
yeah,
especially I think putting CGI Venom next to Lizard, I think it's just gonna look too
odd.
samey because they're all kind of they're like 8 feet tall and slimy.
I think they could maybe do like a corrupt version of Doctor Strange. I think maybe that's where they could go if they say that
Okay,
someone's in control of
you
Doctor
brought them there
Strange,
intentionally.
something like that. Yeah, I think that's very possible. Um, I'm trying to even think if is there any point like who could they hide it? Like who's the sixth member that they're hiding? Is there a villain that we're forgetting about? I mean, they wouldn't hide for the sake of it. Like, surely they wouldn't hide Vulture, would they?
No,
No,
no.
or Scorpion. No, they wouldn't do that, would they? No, it must be a surprise character then of some description. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's either going to be a new character that they don't want to give away, or it's going to be Mysterio, and it's the reveal that he's still alive. So I mean, it has to be a reveal in some form, and it's not going to be like Craven the Hunter or some shit. Because I mean, they have cast Aaron Taylor Johnson as Craven the Hunter, but I feel like they're not going to deploy him in an MCU proper film just because of his previous casting as Quicksilver. I mean, Gemma Chan is sort of the exception to that, but she went from being blue to looking like herself, whereas Aaron Taylor Johnson is just going to continue to look like Aaron Taylor Johnson. The only distinction is he used to have platinum blonde hair, and now he has presumably.
Yeah.
I feel like they're probably going to give him a bit of an Aquaman look, with probably like shoulder length hair. So I mean, he's not going to be visually distinct enough for them to bring him into the MCU proper. I think.
I reckon they could potentially they could bring Mysterio back, and I'm not sure whether they could argue that Mysterio's grand plan was for all this to happen. He would have known that Peter would have went to Doctor Strange. That would have been a real big stretch, to be fair. But I would really like a Mysterio twist. It seems in line with the character. I'm struggling to even rack my brain over what they could do. I think it's either that Venom or an evil Doctor Strange. I think it's where it's going, mate.
Okay. And my final question for you is really, will this work? Will this be a good film?
Oh, I'm not too fussed about if it's a good film or not. Like, I just wanted to like the main thing I want is that I don't want like 100 jokes a minute. I want like these characters I love. I want them to like respect them and like have and understand their motivations. Like I would be absolutely crushed if they just disrespect characters like Sandman. You know what I mean? It sounds such like a silly thing to say, but like that character has so much development in that third film, Raimi film. I mean, that like if you just kill him off for jokes or something, or like you try to, you just I don't want any of the members of the Sinister Six to be just cannon fodder, just to be killed quickly. Apart from maybe Lizard, I think you could kill him off, and I wouldn't really
Couldn't give a
care.
shit.
I couldn't give a shit. But all the others I really like. Okay, me and especially
Electro, couldn't give a
I
shit.
do like I do like
Kill him.
Electro. I like Jimmy Fox. Uh, but generally, I think it doesn't have to work. It just has to be a fan service film. And a lot of people,
Okay.
Endgame's probably not the best film ever, but I think if this film does the fan service right, this could be probably the Marvel's most successful film ever. I think if it does it right. I mean, the hype behind it's nothing like I've ever seen ever. Really, I think it's probably eclipsed Endgame for me hype wise. And
Okay.
I think if that shows in the figures, like what was it, 50 million views and since the trailer's come out already worldwide. I mean, that is insane. That's crazy numbers. So I think, does it have to be a good film? No. Will it be a good film? I think it'll be pretty decent. I don't think it's going to be amazingly shot or amazingly vibrant or anything, because that's just not what they're going for. I think it will work, but I'm just a little bit nervous in the fact that I think John Watts is a very talented director. I'm just not sure he understands like the gravitas of bringing some of these characters back, and like I just don't want him to like mess it up. You know, if he pulls this off, then I mean he's one of the goats of the MCU directors. Really, he's that good. But I just don't want him to mess it up. What are your thoughts?
I was wrong about Thor Ragnarok. I predicted it to be, this like bloated mess that, just wouldn't work. And it's a fun ride. It's like a breakneck pace, and they very, very much have condensed like the Planet Hulk storyline. It essentially is, the Planet Hulk storyline in name only. They have
Yes, yeah.
Sakaar, and that's it really. So if you're a fan of Planet Hulk, that was sort of a butchering of that. But I think the film works. If you separate it from the comics, it works as a film, absolutely. This film, I'm not convinced yet. I think with the runtime being, from what I heard, rumored to be under 3 hours, I don't know that it's going to work. Avengers Infinity War was very plot light, spectacle heavy, and then Avengers Endgame with the expanded runtime was also, pretty plot dense. So this film, I think it's going to try and go with too much plot, and then I think it's going to crash and burn. But hopefully, if it crashes and burns, and I'm like, oh god, that was like a bloated mess. At least give us everything. If like
Go to town. Yeah, go to town with it.
If it means like pushing it over the edge to bloated mess means that we get Daredevil, the Spider-Man, the Sinister Six. I can probably make it work. I can probably make it work in my head, but from the way it's looking, it just looks like too much.
I think it has to go more plot based because so much is left unexplained. It's not as if this is an Infinity War situation where like if you'd watched the previous films, you'd understand the Thanos quest and what he's up to. Whereas this film has the identity stuff to explain, the Doctor Strange stuff, the multiversal stuff, the why the villains are there stuff, why the villains are dying stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's a lot to explain. And I look back at Thor Ragnarok and thought that was a bloated mess. Like, this film's got like twice as many characters, and it's a lot to explain. I think I look at this film and I think this film, Doctor Strange and Thor 4 are the ones I'm super excited for, especially because Thor 4 is kind of built to be this rom-com, they said. So I mean, I'm really excited to see what they have in store here. I just worry for this film, like I just don't want them to forget that, like the charm of these Tom Holland films. Like there's characters like some of the teacher characters I like, and it's Flash Thompson and Betty Brant. Like there's characters like that where like they make the humor of those films. Never mind Ned and MJ. So like I feel like I think this film's going to be very weird structurally in the sense that there's going to be a very specific point for specific characters. Like the first third of it is going to be the classic Spider-Man trilogy stuff of like the gang chatting and stuff and those kind of things. And then I think every point from there on is going to be just like everything. Like it's going to be just a whole spectacle. So I think there's going to be something there for everyone. I just hope they haven't bit off more than they can chew, essentially.
Yeah, because I mean, Spider-Man 3 was 2.5 hours long, and it only had 3 villains, and it messed all of them up except for Sandman, you could say. And this film has seemingly double the villains, 5 times the amount of plot, with probably barely more runtime. So, we'll see it on the day. It's out in
a month today. Well,
yeah,
yes, actually, yes, for us. It's
even
early
less
release in the
because
UK.
we're
We've got
getting
to
it
talk
early.
about that.
I
Yeah.
think that's pretty scummy of Marvel. I'm not gonna lie. I
Heck,
mean,
I'm not
obviously
completed.
we get it early, so we're lucky. But I'm just thinking of like the poor other countries who are just gonna have the entire film ruined for them. Like somehow I didn't have Venom 2 ruined for me, aside from the end credits scene by Chris Randolph. Fuck you. Aside from the end credits scene, everything else wasn't ruined for me. So I think that was incredibly lucky because we got Venom 2 two weeks later than everybody else, which was a travesty. I thought, because the director and the star are both British, and they let us down
Yeah.
with the release date here, and I just think it's shit when that happens. I mean, I know there's countries that aren't getting Spider-Man until 2022. And I
Yeah,
just think that
Philippines
sucks.
isn't getting it till then. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Madness.
mean, there's a bunch of countries who haven't had any of 2020's Marvel films yet. I'm hoping if they can get like Disney Plus through a VPN or something, they'll be able to see like Black Widow and Shang-Chi. But I mean, so far they haven't been released in cinemas. And then I know certain countries are refusing to show Eternals because of the gay characters in it.
One thing I've noticed recently about the film industry and stuff is, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like I was walking past like HMB the other day, and if anyone's not from like the UK, HMB is pretty much like our DVD store, music store. Like,
Yeah.
I think I saw like Shang-Chi on DVD already. I remember back in the day, it seemed like you had to wait an age for the films to come out in DVD. I'm not sure whether because of COVID, the turnaround of the DVD is a lot shorter, or maybe I just got that wrong and it wasn't Shang-Chi in DVD. It just seems like these days DVDs are coming out like a month and a half after they came out. I mean, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, because normally it would be. I think the window that it used to be was, you'd have it in the cinema for 4 to 6 weeks, and then when it was out of cinemas 3 months later, I think it would come out on DVD.
Yeah, I
But
thought 3 months was standard.
Shang-Chi was 2 months ago.
Yeah, it seemed crazy to me. It seemed crazy. But that being said, and that thing you sent me
I've been
too.
watching it. I've been watching the IMAX expanded version of Shang-Chi over the
Oh,
last
really?
couple of days. I've had to watch it in a couple of bites, but so far I haven't noticed the difference with the IMAX expanded capabilities of that. So I'm curious to see whether I catch anything by the time I finish it. But so far, I mean, maybe I hadn't seen it. I had only seen it the once in cinemas, so maybe I don't remember it enough to compare, or maybe I'm just not a connoisseur of that kind of thing. But so far I've noticed a little difference.
Speaking of IMAX, that thing you sent me, it seems like Belfast is getting its first IMAX screen in time for Spider-Man. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be
To,
incredible.
to my knowledge, in our lifetime, we have never had an IMAX cinema in Northern Ireland. To my knowledge, I know that there's one in Dublin. I'm not sure if they shut that because of the pandemic, but I think it's still open. But here we are finally getting an IMAX and a 4DX that they're opening a new Cineworld in Belfast, and I'm thrilled.
Yeah,
I can't
completely.
wait because
Completely.
because
It's
I
right in the
was I was
center of
talking to my
town too.
dad and you about like us driving down to Dublin to see Spider-Man No Way Home, but now we can see it. We
Happy
can see
days.
it right here. I
Uh,
mean, the tickets are going to sell out immediately
Oh, it's gonna be so pricey as well, you'd imagine, but it's gonna be worth it. Now, um, speaking of
midnight
that,
screening.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, now that I have a job, a midnight screening might be like, a kick in like too big of a kick in the ass.
Oh, I can't like it's gonna be. I wonder. I'll have to look here. It's 15th of December. It's out in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah, for us, yeah.
So that's a Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So that's right in the middle of the week. God. But so I guess that wraps up our thoughts on the trailer now.
Mm.
There's this week and this month in general, a lot of good movies that seems to be releasing. I know there's a few we want to watch. Last Night in Soho, definitely we'll get around to that. Ghostbusters. And speaking of Belfast, there seems to be one like an Oscar type movie called Belfast, which I think it'll be fun to review. I don't think there's probably many reviewers from the city that are talking about it, so I'd like to see what that's about. It must be about the Troubles or something. I'm not too sure, but it seems like the cast is pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, it has our city's name in it. We're getting it 3 months after America.
Serious? That sucks.
Yeah, we're not getting it for a few months. I think it's either January or February we're getting it, but so a ways away left. But that's like what's happening there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Speaking of like directors being from a certain place and them not getting a release date in that country, like that's wild to me.
Yeah, especially I think the premiere as well. One of the premieres was here too. Like that's crazy to
Mm.
think. But yeah, regardless, loads of good films coming up in the next month. I think Matrix is coming out before the end of the year too. A poster came out for that today. So yeah, loads
Yeah.
of good films coming out.
There's also been there's been a couple on streaming. Home Sweet Home Alone came out.
Okay.
Uh, it's interesting. I did watch it. There's a period I went whenever I started my job. There was a period of 3 weeks where I watched 1.5 films. Between like Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and there was a film I saw in the cinema called Queen of Catway, which was like from 5 years ago. Uh, in that period between those two films, I watched 1.5 films, and that's just sad because like normally I would watch one every single day, and I just can't do it anymore. But I had the weekend off, and I watched Home Sweet Home Alone, and I watched Red Notice, and I
How's Red
watched Night
Notice?
Books.
How's Red Notice?
It, I really
Worth
wanted to
reviewing?
love it.
Is it worth
Like it
reviewing?
is just, I don't even know if it's worth watching.
Okay.
It's difficult to say. Like it is just they got the group together and then they wrote the script after. Clearly, they went,
Yeah.
oh, Ryan Reynolds and The Rock and Gal Gadot have all agreed to do this. I mean, it's produced by the Rock's ex-wife's production company. So like she's one of the producers on the film, who's also his agent. So it is like his vehicle, and then they clearly got Ryan Reynolds and they got Gal Gadot because you can very much tell that whenever they were writing the script, they knew that it was Ryan Reynolds playing the character because he's just doing Ryan Reynolds stuff,
stuff.
but like not the good Ryan Reynolds stuff. I would recommend watching it just to see your thoughts on it. But I would normally take notes on films that I thought we would maybe review, and I just didn't bother. As I was like, I have nothing to say about this. I do have a few things to say about Home Sweet Home Alone, but
is that the reboot?
I'll let you. No, it's set in the same continuity as the first two films. But I'll let you decide whether you want to bother with that.
Maybe we can do it for like our Christmas special or something, or maybe do something like that around that time. I mean, I've watched a few movies recently. A Christmas one I watched was Love Hard, I think it was, with Nina Dobrev.
I watched that too.
Yeah, it's actually it's what you expect from that kind of film, to be honest. But I quite enjoyed it.
Message.
What is it?
It's not a great message.
No, it's not a great message, but there's some parts in there I actually really like. And Nina Dobrev's really charming in it. So yeah, I recommend that if you guys are interested in a Christmas festive rom-com. And also I watched Hot Fuzz again. I don't know why. I just got in that vibe of I want to watch something where it's like a bit of a mystery and a bit funny. And yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorites. I think we did the Cornetto trilogy at the start of this year, and yeah, I love that so much. I'm in the middle of Shaun of the Dead right now too, so probably finish that off tonight. But yeah, I haven't watched a lot recently. But that being said, don't have much more to say in the pod. Mate, anything from yourself?
Nothing else from me.
No, well, that wraps up another. I'm not sure if this is a podcast. Might just be. I think at this stage,
probably hit the 40-minute mark, I reckon.
Definitely, but yeah, thanks very much for your time today, Calum, and thank you very much, viewers, for your time. We appreciate everyone who's recently joined the channel. It's honestly, it means a lot, and yeah, to see the support and stuff. So please be sure to keep liking, keep commenting, sharing, just all that stuff, and of course, our email and stuff on iTunes link is on the description, down below. So yeah, we'll probably see you guys soon with a review of either Ghostbusters or Last Night in Soho or something. I don't know, whatever Calum has in mind or thinks. And yeah, hope you guys are all well. Hope your family and friends are keeping safe and well too. Take care, everyone, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.